everybody, it's Ryan.
Tabitha.
And we're here for another weekly edition of Locked in Science.
Yes, Locked in Science.
This week, we're going to be talking about, crystals.
Yes, crystals.
They're
Beautiful.
very beautiful.
And rare.
But not so rare that you can't make them at home. So we're going to show you two methods for making your
own crystals at home.
So if you want to follow along with us tonight, you're going to need boiling water.
Yes, boiling water.
Be very careful, kids, don't do this alone. You will want borax. If you don't have borax, you can use Epsom salts. We're going to give you two methods. One uses borax, the other uses Epsom salt. So if you have both, that's great. If you only have one,
we need food coloring so it can be colorful and beautiful.
yes. You'll want to have pipe cleaners.
Yeah, and I made hair of my own.
And string, and a pencil or pen or a piece of wood or something like that.
Yeah, and scissors.
Yeah, and we've got scissors here too to cut the string, which is what you need. So let's get started. Now, the way that makes the coolest kind of crystals, and we should say that you have to leave these for a little while, different amount of time for each one. But this first one that makes the coolest crystals are made from borax. Borax is a household product. Make sure
and make sure that you do not get so messy so you don't have to dig it back.
Yes. Also, don't eat it because it is toxic. Not toxic if you just get it on your skin. It's fine. Don't worry about that. But if you have little kids around that might eat things, you want to keep borax away from them.
Yes, because I do not want your kids to go to the doctors and get sick.
Yes. Very important. All right. So you'll want to have something like, we just use a mason jar. Mason jar is great.
Yeah, mason jar is good.
And for every cup of water that you use, so we're using 2 cups of water in here. For every cup of water that you use 3 tablespoons of borax. So you can put your borax in here and then take 2 cups of boiling water. Okay, Tabby, so you're not going to touch this, right? It's going to be very, very hot. I'm going to pour that in.
Why would I touch that?
Now, the reason that we use boiling water is because water can absorb more things the hotter it gets. So the more you heat up water, the more able it is to take into itself all these kind of powders. And then we're going to stir this up. So Tabby,
Can I stir?
yeah, you can stir. And you really want to stir it as much as possible. You want to dissolve all that borax solution in there because the borax solution is what's going to actually make the crystals.
Yeah.
As it cools, it'll start adhering to whatever you put into it. So you want to make sure that you really get it as salinated as possible, as saturated as possible. So if you if you get rid of all the borax bits and you don't see them floating around anymore, you can even add a little bit more borax just so you get really impressive crystals.
Yeah, you can add a little more borax so you got really shiny, beautiful crystals.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I love crystals. They're beautiful. I think that the ones that come from caverns are beautiful.
Do you think the ones that come from our kitchen are going to be beautiful too? Even though they don't come from caverns?
Yeah, that's fine.
I think so too. Okay, so I think we've got this salinated enough. And then what you're going to want to do is do your shape. Borax crystals adhere really well to things that have like small filaments. So pipe cleaners with the tiny little bits that you get on there are really great. So I made a rainbow for Pride Month. But you could make sort of anything that you want.
Yeah, like I made hair.
She made hair, a multicolored hair. And then you need to have it upright because it's going to sort of stick. And you want your borax to have a lot of room to stick to what it wants. So we didn't have string, so we just had twine.
Which do you want the doll to be? The yellow side or the pink side?
I don't know.
I like the pink side.
So tie a little bit of string or twine or whatever you have. Fishing line works.
Yeah, fishing line.
Twine is a little big, and you'll see kind of the result for using twine, but it's really all we had. I can't go to stores, obviously, so. All right. And tie it around.
Have Target orders and we wear a mask.
Yes. But I forgot to get string at our Target order today. Did remember the Epsom salts, though, which is why we can do the experiment. All right, so you've got like a little ornament here, and this is really good, especially in the wintertime, for making Christmas ornaments, like making little snowflakes. And then what you'll do is you'll figure out about how long it needs to be and tie it to
a pencil.
And this is going to sit on top of the jar so that it sort of dangles your object into it.
Yeah.
See, like that?
Yeah, like a fishing rod. A little happy ring.
And then all you do is, this is very hot, so I'm just going to, there, that's actually cooled down a little bit, and dip it right in there. Now, if you haven't tied it quite tight enough, I haven't made it quite as short as it needs to be, well, there you go. But there, you can see my rainbow sitting in the jar. And what you're going to do is leave this until tomorrow morning. So tomorrow morning, come back, check your shape, and you will find, this is one we did last night.
Yeah, one we did last night that I did not have time for.
Is, it'll be covered in these little crystals. See that?
I don't forget.
I made a little yellow heart for you.
Oh.
But yeah, you get this little, see what I mean about the twine? The crystals really adhere to that twine. And so what's happening is, as it cools down, the crystal particles are going to, or the borax particles are going to want to adhere to something. And they won't find that inside the jar because it's smooth. So they'll find something like this where they'll stick there. You'll see them accumulate on the bottom there too, and you can just toss them out. But they won't really stick to the sides.
Daddy.
They'll stick to this. Yes, sweetheart.
What are we going to do?
We're going to do that after we finish this experiment.
Okay.
And so you'll find a really cool little crystal thing. It's slightly less impressive on video, but it's really very pretty in person. So tomorrow morning, check that, and you'll have tons of crystals. Now, if you don't have borax, or you're just impatient and you don't want to wait overnight, there's actually a way to make crystals really quickly. And that is by using, instead of borax, you'll use Epsom salts. Magnesium sulfate is what Epsom salts are made of. And you're going to do something very similar to that, but you're going to use a slightly different proportion. So this is a 1-to-1 proportion. We're going to be using a 1/2 cup of Epsom salts. And Tabs, do you want to pour this in? You actually don't need to make this water boiling. The warmer it is, the easier it's going to be to absorb, but you can use just regular hot water, if depending on how hot you can get it, and it should still absorb in there. All right, that's good enough. Okay, now I'm going to do the grown-up part where I put the boiling water in, okay? And see how many salts we're using in there? You need a lot more of these to make crystals. And so we'll pour the boiling water in.
Boiling, so no touches. No touches.
No touches. And then, oh, don't shake that, okay? Because it'll ruin the crystals in there. And you'll stir this and try to get as much dissolved as possible. You will have some that sit at the bottom of the jar, and that's good. You're supposed to have that. As you pick this up, you'll see it's really getting in there, because the hotter you make that water, the easier it's going to be to saturate. Do you remember what saturate means? It means to absorb things in water. When things are saturated, it means the water is full of stuff. Okay, so it's going to take all that in there, really mix that up. See?
Yeah, but when are we going to put it?
1 second. Okay. And then when it cools down, you'll see that the excess stuff is going to go to the bottom. And you'll get like a little layer. See that little layer down there of Epsom salts? That's good, because your crystals are going to grow right on that surface. So we did this a couple of hours ago. And what you do with this is, as soon as this is done and it's settled, you pop this in the refrigerator. Unless you want to put food coloring in it. Okay, what color do you want it to be? We have yellow, green, red, and blue. Yellow? It'll be the same as that one.
No. How about green?
Green. Cool.
I put the green in.
Mm-hmm. So just put a few drops in here. And if you want to dye your crystals, perfect. You can put one more in. Good. Okay, good. If you want to dye your crystals, put the food coloring in now, and then mix it together.
Can I mix it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love mixing.
And then you're going to pop that in the refrigerator. And the reason you're going to do that is this works because it cools rapidly. And the faster it cools, the more those molecules of Epsom salts are going to run into each other. When they run into each other, they're going to stick. Now, this has been shaken a little bit, but we did get some crystal growth over a couple of hours. Now, the longer you have this in here for, the better it's going to be with crystal
You
growth.
said we're gonna pour it in here.
We're not pouring this in here. This is a finished version of this. So this is only, we did this maybe 2 hours ago, but the longer you leave it for, the more impressive crystals you're going to get. But what you can see is if I put this up here, and we'll see if it'll focus. I'm on camera. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, you can see these little lines up here. And the crystals actually started growing these little, like, sticks.
Can I see the sticks?
Mm-hmm. Right up there, see that? They look like tiny snowflakes. And when your crystals are done, so we don't need this to grow anymore because we've already, we're already showing you. When you dump it out, you can see those crystals that accumulated on the bottom. Right there. See that?
Can I see it from?
And if you leave this in the fridge for a while, or prop it in the freezer for a little bit, you'll see that the crystals really start to grow.
I should be going and King Cuddles needs me.
Okay, apparently King Cuddles needs Tabby. So we're going to go. That's our experiments for this week. Thank you so much for joining us.
Bye.
Let us know what kind of crystals you make and what shapes you make and all that stuff. Send us some pictures. You can send them to ryan@desmondfishlibrary.org or any of our social media accounts. Just shoot us a DM. We'll see you next week at 6 o'clock on Tuesday, as always. So signing off, this is Ryan, and have a wonderful week. Bye, guys.
Bye.